Nobody is above the law, even if they are an internationally acclaimed person. But what is at stake here is not the completely legitimate desire to see justice served. What has been taking place here is a horror show, while the whole world looks on aghast. We have been witnessing systematic abuse and violation of the most fundamental human rights. Ensuring the right to life, freedom, and peace became one of the most important necessities after the atrocities committed in the Second World War. At the end of the war, in 1948, the Universal Declaration of Rights was born. 18 years later, in 1966, the United Nations launched a new international pact in favor of civil and political rights. During that period, Brazil was living under a regime of exception. The freedom of individuals was constantly suppressed. As long as the country was under the dictatorship of the military government, the international agreement was not acknowledged. Only in 1992, 26 years later, did Brazil finally adhere to the pact. Even so, it took another 17 years for the document to be ratified and normalized by our country. In practice, this means that Brazil acknowledged UN jurisdiction and allows Brazilians to have access to the court every time there is a violation of fundamental human rights. And that's what the lawyers have done. After exhausting all other resources against the abuses of the car wash operation against the person of ex-President Lula.
Tanto o circo montado para a tomada de seu depoimento pela Polícia Federal, como a divulgação absurda das conversas telefônicas na mídia e na TV nacional, são imensamente preocupantes. Esses atos devem ser entendidos como uma ameaça ao Estado de Direito e à democracia no Brasil. Portanto, ninguém pode ficar indiferente a isso.
In the end of July, a communication was submitted to the Court of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights in Geneva, Switzerland.
O ex-presidente Lula foi o primeiro cidadão brasileiro a fazer um comunicado individual ao Comitê de Direitos Humanos da ONU. Se a ONU reconhecer a ocorrência dessas graves violações aos direitos fundamentais de Lula, ela aplicará uma condenação ao país. O Brasil não terá a opção de cumprir ou não esta condenação. Aliás, o Procurador-Geral da República já emitiu um parecer reconhecendo a obrigatoriedade do cumprimento das decisões desses órgãos internacionais de direitos humanos.
Several countries whose institutions are working normally have already been convicted, such as Australia, Canada, and France, for example. The document submitted to the United Nations lists all the violations Lula and his family were submitted to. 3 articles were violated. Article 9, that protects citizens from arbitrary incarceration or detention. That was exactly what Moro and his team of prosecutors did when they forcibly took Lula to depose. Article 14. That preserves the right to an impartial and independent court and ensures the presumption of innocence. In other words, nobody is guilty until proven otherwise. And Article 17. Protecting from arbitrary or illegal interference in a person's privacy, their mail, their family or their home, and offenses to Lula's honor and reputation. For Australian Jeffrey Robertson, one of the most important lawyers specializing in human rights worldwide and one of the authors of the UN communication, the abuses of the car wash operation leave Sergio Moro in a very delicate position after the International Court.
The judges must not be prosecutors. They must not be so involved in the investigation that they have power to lock people up. And that's another issue that this petition raises.
In other words, it's as if, in a soccer match, Moro were the captain of one of the teams and the referee at the same time. Imagine soccer star Cristiano Ronaldo. He runs, kicks, but does not score the penalty kick. Even so, he blows his whistle and points to the center of the field to validate a goal that did not exist. A judge that investigates and guides prosecutors to produce evidence against a certain suspect cannot be, in the end, responsible for his trial, and what is worse, without there even being a court or a jury. By implacably persecuting the ex-president, Moro has lost his impartiality and is himself under suspicion. The decision of the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights will show that fighting corruption cannot be used to justify the relentless persecution of political adversaries.
A iniciativa do ex-presidente Lula abre um caminho para que todo cidadão brasileiro que tenha suas garantias fundamentais violadas possa também fazer um comunicado à ONU e assegurar os seus direitos fundamentais.
O que eu não posso aceitar, em hipótese alguma, é o que está acontecendo no Brasil nesse instante. No Brasil, nesse instante, o que menos importa é a verdade. O que mais importa é a construção da versão.
What is at stake here is the guarantee of individual rights, an essential condition for building a democratic and increasingly just nation.